get another reaction. Moved on right to LeBron versus Michael Jordan revisited. Let's get straight to the video.
The Lakers have now eliminated the Miami Heat, securing their 17th title in franchise history, tying them for first all-time in NBA championships. And along with that, LeBron has now secured his 4th championship ring and an already hotly debated GOAT conversation between him and Jordan. So the immediate question is, how does this change things? If you've followed my channel for very long at all, you've probably seen me compare these two greats in my GOAT series, in which my conclusion was that Michael was still the greatest player of all time. But with this recent championship, LeBron has now won 4 NBA championships, 4 finals MVPs, and has led 3 different franchises to a championship, which no other player has ever done before. He's finished in the top 5 of MVP voting in 14 out of the last 15 seasons. He turns 36 years old in a couple months, and the guy doesn't appear to be slowing down at all. If you're a Jordan fan, you've got to admit that at the very least, he's making the conversation more and more interesting with each passing season. Many of the basic comparisons haven't changed much. Jordan still has the edge in championships, finals MVPs, and league MVPs. When it comes to scoring, Jordan is clearly better with his distant record of 10 straight scoring titles to LeBron's 1. Jordan also has the highest scoring average in NBA history, and by far the highest playoff scoring average in NBA history. Of course, if you're arguing in favor of LeBron on the offensive end, it's not just about scoring, but it's about how he impacts the game as a serious dual threat. LeBron's averaged 2 more assists per game over his career than Jordan did, and when it comes to players of his stature,
LeBron, he an all-around player.
Greatest passers and floor
Jordan, he know how to pass too, though.
This year specifically, I can't say enough about how he switched completely.
Like more of a scorer, though, Jordan is.
35, and he didn't just average 10.2 assists on the year, but he led the entire league in assists. It's reminiscent of when Wilt Chamberlain went from dominating the league in scoring and then switched up his approach and led the league in assists in 1968. Rebounding is a slight edge to LeBron, which some of that comes with his position on the court. Defensively, Jordan has always had a massive edge and continues to have a massive edge. MJ has 9 first-team all-defense appearances, and LeBron has 5. Jordan won the Defensive Player of the Year in 1988, which is an award LeBron has never won, although you could argue that he should have, especially in 2013. Contrary to popular belief, Jordan actually averaged more blocks than LeBron James, despite being 3 inches shorter and about 50 pounds lighter, as MJ was arguably the greatest shot-blocking guard of all time. MJ also averaged significantly more steals, and almost everyone recognizes Jordan as the better on-ball defender. Now, of course, there's many narratives that come with this debate, and the reason I don't dwell on them in this debate is because they're very subjective. They're based on interpretation, and honestly, I think many of them are stupid on both sides. People say that Jordan didn't start winning until Pippen showed up, which is true, but he hadn't played very long up to that point, and I would argue that he didn't have adequate help until Pippen developed. In the 80s, no one in their right mind expected a solo Jordan show to beat a team of 3 or 4 All-Stars and a deep bench like the Celtics and Pistons had. Then with LeBron, you have the 3-6, which is now a 4-6 finals record. But I hate this one too, because how the hell are you going to take LeBron dragging Larry Hughes and Boobie Gibson to the finals in 2007, a place where they had no business being, and turn that into a negative? If you do that, then I can't help but think that you're just showing your bias. So if you want to argue about all the different narratives that you can't quantify or back with any statistical analysis, well then we can have that conversation, but just know that we'll be arguing forever because there's basically no definitive answer. I prefer much more to look at the facts that can't be disputed and then formulate the argument from there. Now earlier, I talked about how averages and accolades still significantly favor Jordan. But for LeBron, it's much more about his career totals, and that's a testament to his longevity, his consistency, his good health, and his commitment to staying in elite shape. Like I said, the guy is about to turn 36, and he doesn't look like he's slowing down anytime soon. Thanks to his longevity, he's ahead of Jordan on the all-time scoring list, and will likely end up being the NBA's all-time scoring leader. He's already the NBA playoffs all-time leading scorer, along with many other playoff statistics that are not pictured on the screen. He's miles ahead of Jordan in assists and rebounds, and within the next year or
Dang.
two, he'll likely become the only player in NBA history to have over 30,000 points and over 10,000 assists. He's already top 10 in assists, and again, that's insane considering he's probably going to be
It
the
is
all-time
crazy.
leading scorer by the time he's done. As things currently stand, in my opinion, LeBron is still not the greatest player of all time, and he doesn't have the greatest career of all time. But he will have the greatest career of all time. Based on the way LeBron is performing at this age and how much he appears to have left in the tank, barring a major injury, his complete resume will stand alone. Let's say by the end of his career, he has 4, 5, or 6 championships and 4 or 5 league MVPs. He's made around 20 All-Star teams and 20 All-NBA teams. He's the all-time leading scorer. He's likely third all-time in assists, first in playoff scoring by a wide margin, second in playoff assists, and he has the most playoff wins of all time by a massive margin. Again, based on the trajectory he's on, there will be no argument here. He will have the greatest overall career in NBA history. Now, does that make him the greatest player of all time? Well, that's based on how you interpret it. For me, I've always put more value on who was the best when they were at their best, who was the most dominant in their era, and separated themselves from the competition to the greatest extent. And I've made videos that support that thinking, like for example, my video on if every player had a 10-year career, in which case Jordan clearly stands out. This has been pretty consistent logic for me too. Like for example, in the Charles Barkley versus Karl Malone debate. I personally have always preferred Charles Barkley. Yes, if you look at the career totals, the Malone is way ahead thanks to his health and longevity. But if you look at who was better when they were at their best, I think it was Chuck. He could score nearly on the same level as Malone, he was much more efficient, he was a much better rebounder, he turned the ball over significantly less, and the eye test just told me he was better. I always thought that if you gave Barkley John Stockton throughout the majority of his career, then he would have stood out even more. So with that being said, I do think there is a possible universe where LeBron ends up with all of these crazy career totals, and he definitively has the greatest career of all time. But I still recognize Michael Jordan as the greatest player of all time. If by the end of his career, LeBron's complete resume leads you to say that his greatest career also makes him the greatest player of all time, then I certainly won't fault you for it. We're not quite there yet, but it's coming. Let me know in the comments section what you think your top 3 all-time will look like by the end of LeBron's career. I look forward to reading your comments. Thanks for watching as always. Make sure to like and subscribe for more basketball content, and I'll see you guys in the next video.
Alright, that's the end of the video. Man, who do y'all guys think is the greatest of all time? Out of LeBron and Michael Jordan? Man, I don't know, man. I don't know. It's crazy. They both good. You know what I'm saying? But that's in the video. Make sure y'all like, comment, subscribe, turn on post notifications, and I'm out.